And with all that fun noise in the background, ladies and gentlemen, summoners alike, allow me to introduce you to the XLNC Scrim Gym week number 17. Man, we have been going on for a while. It's the midweights tonight, which means we got ourselves a mixture of high platinums to low diamonds. And it is going to be a spicy one for sure. We should have some, as you can see, even in this lineup, some diamond ones coming in as well. So should be a lot of fun. I am Jake Kelton, joined by the one and only Wraith. It has been a while. Good to have you back, Wraith. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well today, Jake. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastically. I am hyped. I am excited. We've got ourselves the returning winners from last week's Scrim Gym week number 16. It's going to be Kent State Junior Varsity team on the blue side with the Bear, 25-9 in the top lane, Guardian Rondo in the jungle, Swaggy bringing some swag to the game in that mid lane. And just to get this out of the way from the get-go, because I'm going to have a lot of fun tonight saying it, the bot lane can be referred to as a duo, Zip Tie, as it is Ty the guy, the 80 carry, and Zippy, the support. I love their duo named Zip Tie. Gonna try to use that as many times as I can. If you would, Wraith, introduce their competitors, first time ever on the XLNC Scrim Gym stream, it is going to be the SC Gigabytes.
And for SC Gigabytes, we've got Psy KO in the top lane, Osiris in the jungle. I'll take mid, doing exactly as his name says, taking that mid lane. Kokiria in the bottom lane ADC role, and Arbok rounding it out in the bottom lane supportive role.
All right, now what's always spicy about new teams on the stream is that we don't have a whole lot of information as to what it is that they play, and so we get to see what they may or may not, as we'll have some bans coming through, pick up in these games. From the side of Kent State's junior varsity team, they liked to play teams that weighed a little bit heavy in the early to mid game. They didn't play really late game scaling champion compositions. They really liked the team fighting aspect, and that was one thing that I loved from their compositions when they were playing last week's Scrim Gyms, was the fact that they would group heavily around those neutral objectives, and when they were grouping, they would team fight so well. So it's expected for them to make it to finals again this week, but hey, Gigabytes has that opportunity to shut them down early in these best of one series. Let's see what they can bring to the table. The Jarvan, the Katarina banned away already, as the Silas and the Nico, some of those mid laners, banned away against I'll Take Mid from the side of Gigabytes.
Yeah, and I always like seeing targeted bans. Nico, not exactly somebody you'd usually see taken off the table early. But, and a Scion ban. We haven't seen that sort of a thing coming around. But these are almost always more targeted bans. Giving an organized team and releasing those lists allows the players to learn each other's styles and then counter ban and really spice things up. So if you're a one-trick, you might have a little bit of problems here in the Scrim Gym, but makes things very interesting. Now we're getting into the first round of picks. It's going to be the Vladimir locked in immediately for that top lane. It could, of course, be swapped to the mid lane, but Vladimir perfectly happy to go either top or mid lane, depending on who plays what. Definitely a flex pick that can go in either direction.
Yeah, that's the great thing. Well, they can see Karma being the same thing as well. You usually see teams grabbing these flex picks very early on. It gives them a lot of options later into the game because they can kind of trade things around as they kind of pick and see what the other team is going to be grabbing. And I definitely think Vladimir is the better one when swapping through. But Karma is going to be receiving a buff on the 9.19 patch, which should be in 2 days or so. They actually gave her a little bit of mana back. In this current phase, though, she is still slightly nerfed, so I'm expecting her to most likely be the bottom lane supportive role because she just doesn't deal quite as much damage in a solo lane position. Rek'Sai, a uncommon jungler being picked up, but I like it nonetheless. It's a little bit spicy, very early aggression, and great at being able to roam into the enemy team jungle, try to steal away some camps, or just look for some spicy plays when people aren't expecting Rek'Sai to come tunneling underneath those walls.
Yeah, a very early game sort of snowball jungler, a lot like Lee Sin, which is something you'd be expecting to see if you're waiting for that early game aggressive jungler. But Rek'Sai definitely a good pick for that early game snowballing. I'd like to see something with a little bit more scaling so the Rek'Sai can transition that early lead into something a little bit later game. Now the Alistar locked in here, that's almost guaranteed to go down to Zippy in the bot side. Not expecting to see Alistair mid coming through. But we have seen strange things before. The Orin going to be locked in. That's probably going to boot the Karma down to the bot lane, just like you were saying, Arbok most likely going to be picking that up. I haven't seen an Orin in a while. For those of you unfamiliar with what his passive does, it got updated a while ago. And I feel like that it kind of flew under the radar because he was kind of bad at the time anyway, and nobody really played him. Once he hits, I believe it's level 11, and with every level of his ultimate, after he gets to upgrade, just passively upgrade one item for an opponent. Starts with himself, and then gets to upgrade, or not opponent, sorry, but an ally's item. So like Infinity Edge evolves to Molten Edge, and so on and so forth. So actually building, you can alter your build path when you have an Orin on your team towards stuff that might not be 100% ideal in a normal game, but that the evolved item that Orin grants you is sometimes actually worth it. Usually it's still pretty core stuff.
Well,
now,
right. The nice thing as well is that Orin can bring some surprising amounts of damage to the table. A lot of times people aren't really expecting it, but it's because of that brittle stack that he's very easily able to land, especially with that Bellows Breath, and then he goes in, he brings his own CC as well. So it's one of those things that you can, hit that Bellows Breath, break it, then set it up again, then break it, and you can chunk people down. And if he's up against that Vladimir in the top lane, it could surprise Vladimir how much health he's losing towards that early game, though. Late game, obviously, he's always something that comes online and can hurt a absolute monstrosity in that later stages of the game. Tristana and Jhin, the AD carries picked up from either side. Again, not your classical picks of, say, the Kai'Sa or maybe even the Lucian, which we see a lot more of these days. So I'm liking some of these kind of trade-ups for what you classically see. The Caitlyn also banned away on the side of Kent State, making sure that she, who I would consider to be one of the most dominating ADCs right now in the game, banned away, as the last couple picks are coming through right now.
See, okay, that would be if Bard gets locked in here, then that does put the Karma into the mid lane. Not something that I actually like very much. This composition is relative. There it is.
They baited you! The bait. It's classic.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it. I was just saying how I didn't want to see the Karma put in the mid lane because this composition otherwise would be very lacking in damage. And Tristana into Alistair is a little bit risky, or not risky in that you're probably not going to be able to dominate the lane. Tristana beats Jhin fairly handedly. Her explosive charge just out damages him. Jhin can win short trades using Fourth Shot and Q to get a large chunk, but if Tristana decides to go for an all-in or even an extended trade, she wins every single time. Alistair makes her have to play honest, though. The engage power between Alistair and Jhin is absolutely terrifying with the Ally knock-up and stun. So Ally knocks up, does the normal combo, Jhin roots, and by the time the Jhin root wears off, the Alistair has his full stacks of trample ready to hit the stun. It's potentially a very long lockdown. So Tristana going to have to play a little bit safer in that lane rather than going all in. If it were on something like a Soraka or something like that, and then
I was just going to say, thinking very quickly about that Bard that was hovered for a moment, because of Alistar's mobility and the fact that he's wanting to engage in a lot of those fights, Bard is either surprise or response player. He likes to roam around the map, try to use those walls to find the Cosmic Binding stuns, and Alistar is one of those champions that, not only makes Bard's life very difficult because of the way he has to play more towards that bottom lane, he doesn't get to roam as much because of his threat to whatever ADC is on the enemy team, but also to Bard himself, because Bard is fairly squishy, whereas Karma can play a lot more safe in that bottom lane with those shields, the speed boosts, and as a true support to help this Tristana, as you said, get ahead. Because if Tristana falls behind, she can very easily be quick two-shot bursted down by that Jhin. And so being able to have that Karma says, hey, Tristana, go ahead, farm heavy, win the lane, and then the two of us can go to other lanes, grab more plates, maybe join with the Syndra in the mid lane, or go for a heavy roam into the top lane against the Ornn. And so a lot of nice stuff there. What do you see about these junglers, especially because, again, Rek'Sai isn't a common pick, and Gragas kind of fell out of the commonplace meta, but he's still incredibly strong.
All in all, I think obviously Rek'Sai's going to win the early game. Much more early game power. Gragas, I don't know. His power rankings right now aren't that impressive at the moment. I'd say it's kind of a wash in the jungle. It's really going to come down to pathing. Their clear speed, Rek'Sai is a little faster than Gragas's. Grag can gank at level 3, but so can Rek'Sai. Technically, Rek'Sai can gank at level 2 if he wants to sacrifice jungle presence. But all in all, they both have early game pressure. It's just going to come down to who paths better, who gets down early wards, and counter ganking. One thing I do want to point out is that I like the Ornn so much more than the Pantheon. Pantheon scaling is rather laughable now. He used to be kind of a win early game, and if you smashed it hard enough, you might be able to close out by 25 minutes, and then you'd still win. But other than that, Pantheon would just get absolutely brutally stomped in the late game. But now, you don't even win the early game that hard, and then you get brutally stomped in the mid game. His spears are just not that impressive. His E does laughable damage. It's like Braum Shield, which is pretty cool. Like, the stops everything from passing through it, because as an ADC main, I wanted more wind walls in the game. That's what I wanted from Riot Games for Christmas, and they gave it to me. More things to stop my projectiles. But that being said, I just think that Ornn's so much stronger of a pick, off so much more to the team than Pantheon does. Now, Pantheon's redeeming quality is his ability to roam and affect other lanes.
Yes, that's what I was going to mention. Go ahead.
Yeah. So maybe relieving pressure from this Vladimir, because Syndra, you guys have probably heard me complain about this a little bit, but Syndra got buffed. Like, really buffed.
If she doesn't show up in the Worlds at least once, I'm going to personally be disappointed.
If she's not a main at Worlds, a staple, I'm expecting pick or ban with her. The buff that they gave her, she wasn't weak before the buff. Like, she wasn't top tier, but at least she was solid A tier.
The main reason why a lot of people weren't picking her was simply because of her lack of mobility. People were instead favoring the Akali, the LeBlanc, even an Aatrox who can hop around quite a bit with that Darkened Blade. And Syndra just isn't that. She's a slow mobility champion that does insane amounts of damage, and they were like, oh, well, let's just give her more damage. Yay! Yeah.
So, for those of you unfamiliar with the buff, happened a couple of patches ago. It was when she would level her Q to max. Her passive Dark Sovereign gives her the ability to upgrade the first ability whenever it hits 5 stacks max level on her abilities. It gets a new attribute. So her Q now, instead of dealing 15% bonus damage at level 9, it now does 25% bonus damage at level 9. No, it was 10% before. It was a 15% buff to her Q. So it'll just absolutely insane buff.
Hurt a lot more. Now, as you're looking at that jungle, one of the things I did want to mention about the Kent State University junior varsity team is the fact that they do have some insane collapse. Teleport on both Vladimir and Pantheon, mid and top lane, whereas I said Gigabytes only have it on the Ornn. Plus, you have huge team fight power post 6 between the Vladimir, between Pantheon's ultimate, Gragas being able to lock somebody up on the enemy team, and of course you have Alistar being a seriously nice frontline tank. So for the side of Gigabytes, their level 6 comes online and is strong, but it's more on an individual basis. Rek'Sai able to pick out one target, most likely the Jhin. I can't really think of anyone else. He's like, oh, let me hop all the way to the back of a fight looking for this one person. You also have Ornn for the overall team engage, Syndra to pop somebody. But I'm really hoping that Kent State University continue what they did last week, and that is play around objectives and their ability with the high mobile champions of Vladimir Teleport, Pantheon Teleport, Gragas, Body Slam, all those sorts of things to be able to group faster, which means they can bring more people to the party. Something we saw from last week, and again, I don't mean to keep harping on it, but is the fact that they regularly brought 3 people to fights in the top and mid, and they got those solo laners so far ahead where their bot lane, just as players, were able to outplay the enemy team, and that's how they found so many of their leads. And we'll see if they can do that same sort of grouping and collapsing in top and mid this game, or if they get run around the map by a high mobility Rek'Sai on the enemy team.
Yeah. All in all, from a compositional standpoint, I do favor the side with Ornn, Syndra, Tristana. I just like that as a core better. Like, Vladimir will be a terror late game. Pantheon falls off really hard late game. Jhin, as much as I love Jhin, you guys know I love Jhin, but he's really not that impressive late game. Not as you would compare him to Tristana or even Syndra or something along those lines. He does a lot of burst damage, especially if he's ahead, and he's really enjoyable to play. But in terms of late game scaling, everything's kind of on Swaggy here. And of course, if the game snowballs out of control, then, well, we'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, that's the exciting thing about this sort of tier of play when it comes to ranked, is the fact that, generally speaking, if a team snowballs, they can snowball in any direction. Either team can get someone steam rolling and roll the game hard from there. Either way, we are into game 1 of the night. First game in the quarterfinals, if you will, bracket. It's going to be that Kent State junior varsity team taking on SC Gigabytes, and a bit of a safe start for both teams here, making sure they get their 5-point vision and a little bit of a pause. And a pause. Hey, somebody said, the enemy gamer spotted, so let's go ahead and hit that pause button. Just kidding. It was a DC. I think it is the support from the side of Gigabytes. That's why we were in the skin loading scene for so long, was we did have somebody have a bug splat, so they are loading back into the game. That's why we run them tournament draft, which gives us a little bit more time to discuss these team comps. I don't know, what are you seeing, especially from this early game? Man, 33 seconds in, so much action, so crazy. Where are we at? What are the stakes?
At the moment, I really think that, Syndra should smash mid lane. And once it hits 6, it equalizes a little bit, because Syndra's huge power spike when she gets access to her ultimate is kind of negated by the fact that if Vladimir's good, he'll just hold pool until she fires ultimate. So he can dodge out on a large portion of her burst damage, but the early game is going to be pretty brutal for him because the Dark Spheres just hurt a lot. Bot side, it's going to be kind of the classic match of poke versus all-in. Arbok is going to be able to lay down a good bit of poke, and I think the dominance is largely going to come down to who wins the level 1 push in the bot side. Because Alistar is literally a potato at level 1. And if you can manage to put a lot of damage into him early game, right before he hits level 2, you can cripple him for the rest of laning phase until he goes back. He just doesn't have access to the all-in at level 1, and that makes him very free to poke down. So push hard for level 2 if you're playing from the side of the Tristana, and push hard for level 2 if you're playing from the side of the Alistar. Whoever hits level 2 first is going, if they play it right, is going to have a lot of all-in pressure, and you could very well have the entire laning phase decided in the level 2 or level 3 engage.
Well, that's
or not.
Interesting
they might not do it.
Here from the Gigabytes is the fact that they should be able to get to lane a little bit faster. Okay, they are going to hold to make it look like they potentially leash for the Rek'Sai. I wondered if they were just going to immediately jump into the lane and try to go for that early push, early level 2. It is a Tristana. She could have grabbed her grenade to get that extra explosion and clear up those minions a little bit faster, but looks like things are going to be fairly even. Everyone should be equal experience in the bot lane, so it's going to come down to each of those individual minions of which one hits the level 2 first, and maybe that Jhin with the grenade will be able to clear them up a little bit faster. It looks like he does have a lead on that push for level 2 at the moment.
Yep, they're right about dead even. Karma firing onto the wave. Now we do have level 2 all in the top lane. I don't think that's nearly as deadly.
There's that level 2 in the bottom lane. Alistar can only get the knockback headbutt as Ty the guy dropped to 200 health and less. You set at level 2 early aggression, and it's going to be the side of Gigabytes that win that trade for themselves.
Yep, now Tristan is going to have to play a little bit safer. She did take Rocket Jump, but it has a very long cooldown, and she used it aggressively at the level 2. So she's just going to have to be a little bit more respectful of the fact that Zippy does exist and can make life very hard for her. Meanwhile, the Bears in the top lane is going in on Ornn once again, unstoppable, but, I mean, you're a tank. Pantheon's Pantheon. Just take your licks and, you know, try and make it out of laning phase, but stop trying to fight the fighter, so to speak.
Yep, and it does seem like the Twitch chat was correct in the fact that Orsus was going to be focusing instead on this potentially mid and bottom side as he's kind of giving up that Ornn up there and just kind of letting him deal with it. Nice stun out of I'll take mid. A good sidestep as well. Gragas body slam, not going to be able to land his Guardian. Rondo not going to take a little bit of damage on the way out. I'll take mid, continuing to poke him down. Not going to find that kill again. It's only a level 4 Syndra, no ultimate available, but oh my gosh, no flash, no ignite needed, just walks away.
Yeah, just the sidestep right there. Excellent play. Uses the Scatter the Weak Orb combination in order to completely disengage the Vladimir, remove him from the fight, and then...
Now Rek'Sai going to be returning to that mid lane, and the Vladimir's already pulled with the flash for flash burn. Swaggy dropped to 200 health, able to get out with that flash as Rek'Sai followed suit with that flash as well. Psycho in the top lane, getting a bit of trade back, still staying alive. But man, I'll take mid. Low mana in this mid lane, but I love their ability just to play around the ganking from Kent State University.
Yeah, and the thing is that in the top side, oh yeah, there went Pantheon. I was going to say, he'd been playing so aggressively into the Ornn, but since he didn't capitalize on anything, was now out of mana, and Ornn's going to start winning those trades. But wisely goes back, trying to walk back to lane and maintain his lead. Wow, that's a really cool particle for... Karma's empowered R or empowered Q on that skin. It's like a black hole thing. It's kind of neat.
Beautiful skin. Let's see if they can continue these beautiful plays with this aggression in the bottom lane. You can see Tristana leading by just a little bit of farm, though that can be evened out in the next couple of waves depending on how Ty the guy wants to play and how aggressive he's willing to get. One of those things that they actually have a lead. Now Tristana, she's able to rocket jump through the Alistar, attempting to find a stun. That's a nice escape from that Alistar in the bot lane.
Tristana, very safe champion to play into all-in things like Blitzcrank Alistar, that sort of thing. Hold on. Bears trading into a very large wave. It's very dangerous. Of course, Psycho, not exactly on the most threatening early game champion, but had there been a jungler there or something like that, chunking yourself down to take that that wave could have posed a problem for him. But at the moment, let's take a look at where things stand in the bot lane. 3 CS difference, so nothing worth noting. It is worth noting, of course, that Jhin did take the Doran's ring instead of Doran's blade. Usually, when you're playing Jhin, you have an option between Doran's ring and Doran's blade.
Syndra's coming down here. I'll take mid, says I'll take Alistar. Only level 5, but it's Tristana that picks up first blood. Kokira, just a great aggression as the Syndra roams, and that early vision from Kent State University was lacking as a little bit of trade on the top side. Pantheon going to be going with that shield, bit wrong direction as Psycho gets behind him for a moment. They're trading still fairly evenly up there.
Yep, and you got to keep an eye on the mana bar. Bear is running out of mana fairly consistently in these lanes. And I'm thinking that once Ornn, yeah, he has the chain vest and he's working toward the Sunfire Cape. Once he gets access to that, or just a little bit more armor.
Oh, Orsoros gets a chilling smite, forcing the Vladimir to pool early. I'll take mid, gonna be knocked back as there is a Gragas here. It's got a lot of damage. Rek'Sai doesn't have an escape. Wait, the heal! Trying to go back in for the knockup, but it's not enough time. Not enough varying, but they still find themselves a 1-for-1 kill in the end. I'll take mid. Flashes to get a Pantheon who came mid with that teleport. Didn't burn his ultimate just yet, so 1-for-1 still gives a lead to Gigabytes.
Yeah, 1-for-1 does give the lead to Gigabytes, especially since their mid laner didn't go down, and now the jungler's taking all that CS in the mid lane. But they also got both sums out of the top lane. If I am in the jungle right now, I'm looking toward that Pantheon who just blew teleport and flash, trying to counter gank in the mid lane. Yeah, I'm expecting Osiris to go up top lane and really mess this guy up. He didn't even go back.
Jhin, just barely missing that root in the bot lane. Rek'Sai headed towards the top lane. We'll see if he's actually able to find something. Gives Pantheon. He does have that level 6, so he could try to take his ultimate out of danger if necessary. And Rek'Sai over the wall. Ornn gonna come in as well. They're looking for the trade of CC. They got a bit of a CC chain, but it kind of didn't line up too well. And now Pantheon's trying to stun backwards. Rek'Sai's got the ultimate, though, to reset the turret. Aggression gets the kill and gets out. Psycho comes out 1-0. Beautiful ultimate out of Ursus.
And what did I say? The decision-making perfect in the jungle right there. Seeing the gank in the mid lane. It's like, I'm going to punish this. And he does. He makes the Pantheon pay for that roam. And now he has to walk back to lane. He's going to lose a plate. He's also going to lose all of this CS. Of course, he could burn the ultimate if he wanted to return to lane. But that's a fairly long cooldown. And tie the guy. Unfortunately, wait, no, Rek'Sai's on this side. This is contestable.
We'll see what Rek'Sai can do as the Infernal Drake is already down to under 1,000 health. We'll see if they can try to pick it up. Vladimir was able to grab it the side of Kent State University as next. The team fight will start. Ornn calls the Forge God coming, and he does get the knockback as well, knocking a Pantheon, so he will fall. The Vladimir ultimate does almost nothing. It's tie the guy, sidesteps the stun, but still goes down. It's a double for the Syndra as I'll take mid, takes the lives of Kent State University.
And they get the Infernal, but they lose their lives. I don't think that's worth it. Not unless they can secure a second one, because all of this CS is about to go down the drain. Yes, Pantheon may have gotten a turret plate on the... No, he hasn't even gotten that yet. But he's going to manage to get a turret plate and deny a tiny amount of CS from the Ornn, who's just now arrived in lane. And actually going to get a pretty good trade down on the Pantheon, but they're also going to get 2 plates off that bottom lane tower and deny, I think, a double stacked wave from the Jhin, plus getting 2 kills, and now a total of 3 kills onto that.
Well, maybe a forest. Tristana going to try to sidestep the curtain call. The Karma is here with a couple of shields. They're going to try to walk away. Nice route onto Karma. She's got the red buff, though, plus a nice Mantra Q to slow down the Alistar. No engage gonna happen there.
There was literally no prayer of that working.
2 plates in the bot lane, 1 plate in the mid, and now maybe a kill onto the Jhin. The tether is there from Karma. Arbok has found it. Tie the guy will drop in the zip tie. Might be closing in the wrong direction. Is Kokiri going to be in a little bit of trouble? The Gragas comes in, but he doesn't have the damage. He's going to be CC'd out of the fight. The Bear in the top lane continues to lose versus Psycho. It's an 8-kill-to-3 game, a 4,000 gold lead at the 10-minute mark. We still have another 4 minutes before these turret plates go down.
Yeah, this is intensely in the favor of Gigabytes right now.
Oh, how did I'll take mid find that stun? Throws out the unleashed power. Swaggy goes into the pool to survive for a little bit longer, but Rek'Sai's on the chase, gives up as Vladimir is able to just go off into the darkness of the jungle, but did have to burn Flash to save his life.
And while he does get away, he's going to lose a good amount of resources here. And that's going to be a double-stacked wave denied as soon as Syndra finishes pushing this into the tower. I don't believe that... no, he does not have access to teleport at the moment, so that's going to be a substantial amount of money, as well as the control ward, just to add insult to injury. And probably, no, that's going to be another tower plate as well. So I'll take mid is so far ahead right now. 3-0 on the Syndra, 2 assists plus 2 tower plates. He's rolling in the dough.
Very, very happy. If we check in that gold, it's 4,700 gold to 37 of that Vladimir. 1,000 gold up. Jungle is 600 gold up. Top lane is 1,000 gold up. And you can see that from all the mid to the top side of the map, Gigabytes have a significant lead. Now Tristana is looking for her own fight against Ty, the guy. He's got the heal, but it's not enough damage with the ult coming out. Tristana, the fight's going to continue in the top lane. This time is Guardian Rondo on the run. Or we're going to call the Forge God's going to come through and take down the Gragas. He's looking next for the Bear. He's got it! Double kill in the top lane for the Ornn. Syndra solos out Vladimir in that mid lane. It's a near ace from the side of Gigabytes, as the only one they didn't get was Alistar, who wasn't even close to any of those fights. They are wiping last week's champions off of the Rift.
Yeah, and that's going to be more tower plates going over into Gigabytes' pockets. Top lane, bot lane, both falling simultaneously, while I'll take mid does work in the mid lane. All tower plates gone right now. They haven't quite dropped the towers, But yeah, and that's going to be first tower going down on the top side. Second one soon to follow in the mid and the bot. That's probably going to be all three dropping very soon. Once they recall, they'll probably come back down and collect that standing gold.
Well, and they could still try to grow and grab that Rift Herald for themselves and drop it onto a second-tier turret if they wanted to. And this is one of the things that Kent State University's university team plays very well when grouped as 5 around neutral objectives, but the side of Gigabytes has not given them a moment to breathe. All of these lanes have dominated in individual fashion, and that's one of Kent State's weak points in this early game. And so there is a slim margin that now that some of these turrets have gone down, their grouping power could start to come through, but they have a ways to go when you're looking at items, considering that so many members of Gigabytes are just a small piece or already completing a small piece away from or already completed their first major item, the Sunfire on the Ornn, the Luden's Echo on the Cinder, who's going to hurt so much when she hits someone.
Yeah, and the thing is that they're not stronger grouped. Like, their grouping potential is far outshone by that of Gigabytes. The AoE potential of Syndra, the long-range chunking potential of the Tristana, plus the fact that Ornn is so strong when the enemy team is grouped. Call of the Forge God, one of the best engaging abilities in the game, as we've seen Psycho just going absolutely nuts, yes, pun intended, in the top lane, getting a double kill for himself.
Here's
He's
the play
3-0
onto the Syndra. Pantheon ganking, but doesn't even find the slow. Syndra's gonna go golden to avoid the Gragas ultimate. Flashes away, but Pantheon's got an easy point and click CC, but she burned 2 of Kent State University team's ultimates, and they still lost their mid lane turret.
Yeah. I mean, they got the kill, but at what cost? Hold on, here we go!
Is it going to cost them everything? Wait, they found a turnaround to the Rex side! This might be the jump going down! Horses will fall! Psycho is here, though. We'll see what Ornn can do as he's trying to take up the rest of his team. Vladimir ultimate ticking away onto the Karma and the Tristana. There comes through. Not enough damage. The Ornn will fall, and it's going to be Kent State that finds 3 kills back in the trade of 1. Windrick is up on the map, and Gigabytes might try to pick it up as the members of Kent State are recalling, but they're going to back away, play safe, defend this mid lane turret because Vladimir is pushing in.
Unfortunately, their Syndra 4-1 was dropped earlier, so a very good fight for Kent State right there. Could it be the turning point to get them back into this game? We don't know. Kukuri taking the very, very safe route, just jumping over the top there. No chance of getting caught out, even if there were people hanging out and waiting for him to die. Now, you saw earlier the last time Jin showed up in the bot lane exactly why this matchup is so heavily Tristana favored. I mean, Jin was he was standing almost all the way back at his turret, and Tristana just W's onto him, hits him, pops the explosive charge, and then jumps and ults again, and it's just a done deal from full health. Tristana, one of the strongest champions to play into Jin, just because he doesn't have anything that can really answer her.
Unless he roots very, very early on and simply runs away. Not much. While we have a moment here to breathe, the Twitch chat is questioning the Jin picking up the boots of Swifties, which I know you play Jin a lot and have built that Swifties build on him before. What is the thinking behind it? We might have to talk about that in a moment because it's going to be a Gragas caught out, unleash power. Don't give the man a chance to breathe or escape. He'll drop very quickly.
Yeah. That was a really dead Gragas real fast. But as you were saying with the Swifties, Swifties are meta on Jin. You have an option with Jin between 3 different sets of boots. You've got Ionian Boots of Lucidity, which are fairly rarely built on Jin. You can take the Berserker's Greaves, which is also very rare, and in my opinion, they don't really offer you very much. And then Swifties, they're very cheap. And they give you a lot of mobility. That's about the positives of them. Slow resistance is nice because you're already building toward that super fast build that Jin just automatically snowballs into at this point in the game. Swifties allow you to really conserve gold on your boots purchase because if you buy attack speed boots, the conversion factor on your passive, you don't get any more attack speed from, you just get a little bit of it converted into AD, and it's not enough of it. It's not cost efficient.
Okay, so what the Twitch chat has corrected me and said that it's not about the build, it's about so early that he built it. As nice little kill onto the Gragas once again, caught out in his own jungle. Pantheon's coming in, but he's not going to find anyone because his ultimate takes so long for him to come in. He finds the sun onto Tristana, but she's already out with the rocket jump, and now the Alistar could be in trouble. Zippy, can he zip his way out of this one? As Tristana looking for the engage, not going to find it because he's dropped his ultimate. So you can see several ultimates out from Kent State, but not finding any kills just yet. Vladimir's pool is very early. Tristana gonna make sure that he forces the flash out. They find a route in return, but all this skirmishing in this topside jungle doesn't bear any more fruit for the side of Gigabytes.
Meanwhile,
So
in the bot lane,
just start up Rift Herald. Ornn split pushing onto a second turret in that bot lane. Should be able to grab it before anyone's able to respond.
And I mean, they have to bring 2 members there to actually get a response. Pantheon can't deal with the 3-in-1 Ornn now. He's got so much tankiness just out of that Sunfire cape, and he's now he's just building into a magic resist sort of things to deal with the late game potential of this Vladimir, who's kind of the only hope for Kent State at the moment. As I said at the beginning of the game, Swaggy going to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders just because he's the main late game damage source, and if Jhin doesn't smash lane, it's kind of difficult to play the champion. I mean, he's a lot better than he was. The small buffs that they gave him in the previous 2 patches really helped, but still not exactly what you would call an impressive late game carry on the order of a Kai'Sa or a Jinx.
Right.
That being said, yeah.
Well, look at the game.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You remember what you were saying.
Yeah, the Twitch chat was asking why he built them so early. Don't know. No idea. It's way too early to be building the Swifties, especially as behind as he is. There's really no reason to be moving toward that. I mean, I guess I can see the thought being getting away from Tristana. Because if you don't crit as Jhin, she actually just outruns you, and can run you down really easily. So maybe he's buying more mobility to keep from getting caught out and smashed like he did.
Well, my Gragas might be once again. There's the Call of Forge God into a very tight knit. However, he misses and being able to respond. The Alistar still staying alive. The Rek'Sai will go down, but it's traded over to the enemy team jungler. So jungler for jungler so far, but Tristana will fall because the Pantheon gets to the backside of the fight. He's looking for the Syndra as she's chasing down the Alistar. He's gotten stunned up. She's gotten stunned up, but she wins out with the damage in the end. Vladimir going to continue to poke away at her. With that pull, he finds the kill. Swaggy takes the Syndra down, and somehow in the end, it's a 3-4-3. But Tristana dying so early in that fight due to Pantheon jumping with that ultimate to the back line may have saved that fight for Kent State.
Yeah, that was a very good ultimate from Pantheon. Well played right there. Good positioning. Got a ton of damage down onto probably the most critical member of his opposition. The Tristana just hitting her 2-item power spike, and I like seeing this. It's an Executioner's Calling picked up by the Tristana. Couple that with the Morellonomicon in the inventory of the Syndra right now, and Vladimir's going to be having a real hard time in team fights. Grievous Wounds are just very powerful against him.
Rift Herald spawned in the bot lane. Most likely was running out of time, so they said, you know what, let's just toss it into a very long lane, force someone on the enemy team to respond to it. Probably isn't going to find any amazing turrets or anything, considering that second tier already went down to either the minions or somebody just hopped down there and grabbed it with a couple auto attacks, probably that Tristana. But I gotta say that while the early game was definitely fully in control of Gigabytes and they were winning pretty much every single team fight, things have kind of gone a little bit more even in these last couple of fights. And I'm not saying it's Kent State turning everything around and they can now potentially win the fight, but at least they're not allowing that snowball to escalate any further. It is up to a total of 7,000 gold lead to the side of Gigabytes. They're going to start up the Baron, but Alistar is around the corner, could try to engage and stop this.
Yeah, and they should probably pull off of this. It's spotted out at the moment. And meanwhile, in the bot side, Bear does manage to take down Shelly, but maybe will cost him his life.
Gets a little bit of slow with that Q. Can he get out? The brittle stacks are there. Psycho just keeps walking forward. It's a flash for the finish. Couple of turret shots, but not carrying. In the meantime, that Baron has been pulled off by the side of Gigabytes, but they don't need to rush back into it immediately because Ornn is alone pushing that bottom lane. So Swaggy now has to come to the bot lane and turn that wave around.
And that's a free Infernal Drake. Well played by Psycho on the bot side. Drawing pressure here while... that's a lot of resources, and that's just a free Infernal Drake. Psycho gonna go down here, but in order to neutralize the Drake lead right there, that's definitely worth it. And that's a lot of pressure up toward the Baron now. 3 members there, and they could theoretically start this up even though their jungler is not quite there. Rek'Sai very quick at roaming. They elect not to do that. There's definitely a possibility, and yet Jin, knowing that, they all run toward the Baron just to be sure, because there's a definite possibility of them just burning that Baron down while they'd all committed toward the split pusher in the bot side.
Well, the thing is that they didn't have to start up the Baron. They are the team that's in the lead. They're trying to close to get to that 10,000 gold lead in which a game is nearly guaranteed for them unless they make some major mistakes. And they're doing it in a very good fashion, playing that slow and steady, get these small objectives, they've got that Infernal Drake to even those up. They can even wait for the next Drake to come up if they want to as well. It's going to be another Infernal Drake up in 4 minutes. So plenty of time for them to finalize what they want on the map. And it's a little bit, though, the opportunity for Kent State to find these picks. They do have that Alistar. They do have that Pantheon. They could find someone who's roaming around just trying to get a little bit of vision down and jump on them and grab, that small individual kill when they can't fight a big 5v5 fight simply due to lack of resources on their champions.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Tristana to kill one more minion and pop that call. It's bothering me. There it is. Okay, I'm happy now.
And now she immediately recalls suspended. Just kidding. I've actually gotten annoyed at how long people hold on to calls. They're really waiting to need the gold for a big item. But I've seen people hold calls from the very beginning of the game until like the 20-minute mark. And I'm like, just sell it already! It's annoying me. But back to the Baron we go. It's a bit of a 4v4 as that Alistar is going to be caught out. 3-man Naka, but he's all alone. He's CC'd. He's got an ultimate that makes him tanky, but not tanky enough, and he will drop because none of his teammates were there to actually kill him. They were chasing the Syndra around, but I'll take mid. Happy to escape. Already used that Unleashed power just to push the enemy team members away. You can see that Gragas dropped very, very low, so he's sent back to... No, it's actually the Vladimir that's recalling back to the Fountain. They're going to try to help the Pantheon, so that means Baron is open and available for Gigabytes. Gragas is coming in. He will lose his life as he tries to steal this away.
Yeah, he hasn't died yet, but... Nope.
Oh! Oh! Almost gets the jungler, the Rek'Sai. But no, Gragas will fall. Jin will just walk away. Baron goes over to Gigabytes as they continue to hold complete control of this game.
Yeah, that was it was close to smiting down the jungler, if not the Baron there. But watching the enemy jungler just take a chunk from Syndra and then get soloed out by the support, not looking great for Kent State right now. Unfortunately, I've only gotten to say zip tie once in the game, which makes me sad.
Well, it's because Zip Tie hasn't done amazing so far this game. An 0-4-8 Alistar, okay, but again, you are caught out a little bit when you're trying to run around and drop those wards. You need to be very, very safe and know what areas you control. The Jin has been hard focusing on farming. Look at his farming compared to the rest of his team. 209 CS, 40 CS up over the next closest teammate. And then on the enemy team, he actually even has higher CS than the enemy team's Syndra. So that's where he hasn't been super involved in these fights just because he's been hard farming, trying to get those items he needs. He's picked up that QSS for himself to survive a little bit longer if Syndra finds a stun on him. And there's that stun coming through. QSS used by Jin. Talk about perfect timing.
Oh, Syndra into the tower.
Snare, but she goes golden, surviving with that Zhonya's for a moment longer, fighting the stun on Alistar. He will drop. In the meantime, Gragas trying to come up from behind, but he's too late because of Vladimir coming out as well to sound that ultimate. We'll see if he can actually take down I'll Take Mid. She gets a bit of a shield. The Karma shields are coming through, and I'll Take Mid survives. Swaggy forces a flash away from his own mid lane turret as it will drop. Pantheon coming in. I'll Take by the Rek'Sai. He can look for the Syndra up next. They're losing an inhibitor. Karma shields are coming through. Pantheon's going to miss. He's going to get stunned. He's going to get knocked backwards. He's going to die. The Vladimir is in the middle with the pool trying to do what he can. He heals, but it's not enough. Looking for the Karma instead, and her shields have come in clutch this game, as that should be with that ace. SC Gigabytes knocking down last week's champions out of the best of one series. They can move on to the Nexus itself and claim game number 1. They're not even going to worry about the Alistar for last kill, as he gets a shutdown on Karma before the end of the game. But that was just a slow and steady snowball. It wasn't like a hard rush, and it wasn't like a dragged out, just so slow game. It was just slow and steady as they took over, maintained control, and won it in the end.
And really, I feel like that was won in draft. Like I was saying at the very beginning, I liked Gigabytes' composition so much better because it didn't rely on early game snowballing. There was certainly the potential there. Tristana, Syndra, both very good laners at snowballing leads, and Rek'Sai's perfect jungler to help that happen. But that being said, Tristana and Syndra are both very good in the late game, regardless of whether they're snowballed or not, and Orin is amazing, and I just have to give it to Psycho. If I had to give out an MVP, it would probably be Psycho, just because of the split pushing, man. Solo killing the Pantheon and drawing so much pressure bot lane allowed for his team to secure objectives. I know you're thinking, come on, Ray, give it to the ADC who's 9-1. Yeah, I'm tempted to, but really Psycho just playing an amazing Orin. However, there's a 50-50 on I'll take mid there too, absorbing a couple of ganks. He almost got away from a 5-man. Not quite, because Pantheon had the point-and-click stun, unfortunately, but it was really close, and he did manage to get away from that early game gank without blowing Flash or Ignite or really any spells, so to speak, of just by sidestepping the Gragas engage. So some very fancy footwork on that mid lane. Anyway, I think we're about ready to get into game 2, or go on our break and then get into game 2.
Absolutely. It's a very, very good game number 1. Unfortunately, Kent State University, while they will continue to play games because every team in these Scrim gyms gets a guaranteed 3 games, they will be playing in the losers bracket and hopefully finding some wins there, but they are out for the rest of the event as Gigabytes will move on to the semifinals. However, we will be hopping to the other side of the bracket to see what happens between Year 2150 Orange taking on SPK Defiance, because there is still an SPK team in this Scrim gym. So we'll hop over there, check them out, and then move on to the finals afterwards. But don't go anywhere. Don't touch that browser. Don't touch anything. We'll be right back with game number 2 of the night.
We'll be right back with more pain and death after these messages.